and welcome to a new episode of Worlds Collide, the podcast about moving abroad. I am your host, Viktoria, and hi and welcome. I'm really glad that you're tuned in today. So today, I'm gonna skip like all that intro that I usually do. My guest, Brigette, reached out to me. She wanted to discuss her story, and like it's a different topic than I usually have on the podcast. Because, usually, of course, there's always like ups and downs in the podcast, but usually it's like happy stories. But this week's episode is a little bit different because like she wants to share with you her story of moving abroad. She came over with her significant other, and then unfortunately she lost her significant other. So she wanted to share maybe with other people who go through the same process, her steps of grieving, going through the whole procedure, and on top of that, being not at home with your friends and family, but being abroad in a new place. So that is what we are discussing. This is like a really insightful conversation, and as she said, she was hoping to helping somebody with this who might go through a similar process than her. Yeah, so I will let you listen to this. And of course, to everybody else, a heads up that this is a serious topic. And I understand if you do not want to listen to it, or if you do, be prepared. Okay, here it is. Actually, yes. So my guest today is Brigette. Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today, Viktoria?
I'm doing good too. Tell me, where are you from?
Well, originally born and raised in Cape Town, South Africa. I was there until 2017. Loved where I grew up, always at the beach, catching the sunsets, enjoying the food. But yeah, at the moment, I am in Tampa in Florida in the USA.
Oh, you moved to Florida. Ah, okay. So why did you wanted to leave South Africa, and why did you chose Florida?
So yeah, those are great questions. So I didn't want to leave South Africa. I didn't, it was a tricky time 6 or 7 years ago. Unfortunately, the country, as beautiful as it is, has been seeing some difficulties from an economic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to work and save for a future retirement was becoming a challenge, honestly.
Okay.
And with a weaker, I guess, economic climate, and I'm not sure if you're aware, South Africa also has a very high unemployment rate.
Okay.
And then also we experience something called load shedding, which is it's what we call rolling blackouts. So your electricity is on and off all the time.
Right. I heard of that. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some challenges, and with those kinds of things also comes a lot of crime, unfortunately. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do something different here. And if I was going to choose a country, I was looking at multiple countries. I was looking at England. I was looking at, Australia, New Zealand, where a lot of South Africans have moved to. I feel like many of us have left. But I really just wanted to come to the US, to be honest. And it took years and years to make that a possibility. And I landed in I landed in New York City, which is the northeast coast, as you probably know, of the US in 2017 with my 2 dogs, my wife at the time, and 2 bags, and we had sold everything.
Okay.
And we ended up staying in Connecticut for the first half for 3 years because we knew someone there, and we needed somewhere to stay. So we stayed in their attic until we could get up on our feet, and then kind of fast forward a little bit, we come from South Africa, so we weren't too excited with the winters. Snowstorms are not fun.
Uh-huh.
And so we ended up just packing and driving south, and literally went as far south as we could go. And as long as we were on the west coast, because now Tampa's on the west coast of the Florida Peninsula, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that we
okay.
could still enjoy our sunsets, because we love sunsets. We come from Cape Town. And also it needed to be closer to a international airport, because there's a lot of traveling that we do. So that's kind of
Okay.
how I landed up here in random Tampa, Florida. I've been here about 2.5 years now.
Okay, so you chose it because of the necessity of the sun,
Yes.
basically, which is understandable in your case.
Yes, 100%. The snowstorms were just not working out for us. I mean, we had never even really seen snow until we moved there. And now suddenly you have to drive in it, you have to live in it, you have to, there was a big learning curve that took place
Right.
when we got there.
Right. And it's also a long winter, right? It's not just 3 months, it's way longer there, isn't it?
Correct. So, I mean, for a good part of the year, it's not just cold, but it gets dark really early. So, you're not getting a lot of blue sky and sunshine. So that did catch up to us, on an emotional, mental health level too, because
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't really just go outside. It was very dark all the time. So, yeah, we were like, it was great that we had a landing pad in the Northeast, but when we had the means and the ways to be able to do it, we decided to definitely move south.
Okay. And what did you do work-wise that you could do that? Like first like move to the
Mhm.
US and then also like move to different states?
Yeah, so good question. So when we arrived, we did not have any work. So we literally
Mhm.
started from scratch. We redid our resume, and resume is different to what we call a curriculum vitae,
Mhm.
in South Africa. So the formatting is different, the way it's written is different. And then obviously it was a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, because all our experience was, in South Africa. But eventually, I managed to land a wonderful position at a digital agency in Connecticut that I worked for at least 5 years.
Mhm.
And what ended up happening was, unfortunately, COVID hit, right?
Mhm.
And then the whole, I mean, I'm sure everyone's aware of this, that whole shift in terms of, well, you don't have to come into the office anymore. We can do this whole thing called remote
Right, right,
work.
right.
So when it got to that point, I thought, well, let me take advantage of that. And so I could work remotely. And my wife, my now late wife, she had a personal training studio up in Connecticut, and we ended up moving that whole business online too. So we moved south.
Uh-huh.
We set up a gym in the home that we live in, and she would train her clients in Connecticut from the one room in the house, and I would, do my work from the other room in the house. And
Right?
it was a really seamless transition from that point of view. So we were lucky, I guess.
Mhm. And okay, so that makes sense then. You had like this digital job or like you worked online so that
Yes.
made it easier. And then okay, so you mentioned then your late wife. I'm very sorry for your loss and I'm sorry you had to go through this because you are also way too young to experience this.
Thank you.
Um so how did you manage that because you were basically all by yourself, right? And also, um, I mean, and also like you were in a new environment and you had probably no idea how to deal with all the
Yes.
technicalities.
Oh, yes, 100%. I mean, that's not the kind of thing you expect, right? So, yes, I am only in my 40s now. So, still, we were married 12 years.
Okay.
And so it was not something it's not, I mean, it's never something you anticipate. It was an unexpected passing, shall I say.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little over 2 years ago that she passed away. It was actually New Year's Eve, December 2022, right? That this happened.
Oh.
And we had only been living here in Tampa for a number of months, really.
Oh, so you did not have like any big social network that could like lift you up.
It was very challenging. And there was a handful of people that I knew, but I was still getting to know them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was tough because it's not like I could just, show up at my family's doorstep or, lifelong friends. I mean, there's WhatsApp and you can call home and whatever it is. But in that immediate time frame when the coroner and everyone is here and the sheriff, and you're like, well, what now?
Okay, yeah.
Because there's the emotional component of it and the grief that comes with it, but there's this administrative stuff, and we're in a different country. Like, what does that even look like, right?
Right.
And what needs to be done, and there's no handbook for that. It just, you just don't know what you need to do until you fall smack into it, right? So honestly, I would say I tripped and I fell and I fumbled my way through it because I didn't know. So firstly, there's, her wishes, there's the funeral, and then there's all the legalities and things that come with that. And then, you've got property, and she had her own business, and what is my signing power, and, all these things that consumed me for the first few months, right?
Oh, is a long process too.
It's a very long process, right? So, one of the biggest challenges is, getting, and I hate to say it because, I mean, it just makes it more real, but getting the full version death certificate. You cannot do anything until that is issued, and there's often a delay with that. You get a summarized version, which is fine, but nobody accepts it when you need to take care of things like close cell phone accounts, handle their credit card business, etc. But at the end of the day, it was a messy process. And then once all of that was done and the funeral was complete, suddenly it goes really quiet because you're busy,
right?
You're so busy trying to do these things to, do right by her. And then the funeral's over and everyone goes home. And then you're sitting here and you don't really know anyone. Or those that I do know, I value them tremendously today. They're still in my life, but we were still very much early in our relationship building process, from a friendship point of view. And that's when it hits you really, really hard, right? So, I mean, anyone that's experienced grief before knows this, but now I'm completely displaced in a new state, in a new country. And, it wasn't pretty for a while. I'm not going to lie. You're not able to sleep, not able to just function on the day to day, just trying to come to terms with everything. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if I look back, right? I mean, I still have a ways to go. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I still have a ways to go, but there's definitely a lot of progress just on an emotional level and trying to come to terms with it all. And I don't think it will ever completely go away. But fundamentally, the biggest lesson lessons that I've learned over the last, call it 2 years, is to actually just stop and face that pain, not avoid it, because I avoided it for a while.
Yeah,
I got on a plane and I was just traveling everywhere. Name a country, I probably went there because I feel like I didn't want to be in the silence. I couldn't be in the silence. But then I was like, okay, maybe I need a little help here. So I did start seeing a therapist here in the Tampa Bay area, fantastic woman.
Okay.
And she worked with me to get me to a place where I was comfortable to be in my silence. And that, for someone, where I was 2 years ago is a stark contrast to where I am now. Now I enjoy the silence, perhaps a little too much, because I've never been great at balancing pretty much anything in my life. But now I don't get that sense of anxiety in my own silent space. Now I embrace it.
Okay.
I listen to my thoughts. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And how am I going to potentially not just help myself, but help others too?
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm finding myself at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Did you also have like, I don't know, like support groups or something like that? I mean, like groups that you found online, like grieving support groups?
No, that's not something I ever did. And to be honest, it's not something I ever even thought of. Somebody brought that to my attention not so long ago. But I felt like by this point, I had kind of moved past it. But at the same token, I would not mind being able to speak to others that have gone through something similar, because nobody really understands, right?
Right.
In terms of exactly what it feels like and what it's like when you're in it. But at the same token, I also don't want to be delving too deep into it, because I also need to look forward, right?
Right.
So just
Yeah. You don't want to be like stuck in it, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I do find, to be very honest, that the cultural differences are very extreme from America versus South Africa.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's been a challenge there in terms of finding, I guess, people that I can speak to where I'm not misunderstood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're very few and far between, which is unfortunate, but it's also taught me a lot in terms of just the differences in. I mean, obviously, when you move to another country, it's culture shock. It kind of hits you in the face, and you're like, "Wait, what? Where am I now?" And you need to learn all over again how to just exist, right, on a day to day, and really understand what's going on around you. But from this perspective, that has been a really challenging piece of it, because I don't know, just the way things are approached and handled and spoken about or spoken to is very different from a South African point of view.
Okay. Can you explain that a little bit? How you would have, how you would have been handled with in South Africa?
So in South Africa, we're a very direct bunch, right? We don't mess around with what we say and what we think. There's no sense of like, well, I'm going to talk to you about something that's sensitive and I may or may not offend you. We don't even think about offending the other person.
Okay.
We address things head on, and we get to the root, raw, cause of everything. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be death, it can be friendship, it can be an argument, it could be anything, or just a regular debate. We are very, very direct. Where in the US, I had to learn really quickly that sometimes you have to watch what you say, because I find that often I would offend people by what I'm saying, but it was never my intention. That's just, we're having a conversation and I'm going to address it directly.
Right.
Where here I find in general, and it's not everybody, I found my one or two friends that can handle me, right? They understand me. They know it's not personal, but the sensitivities in terms of, well, that's offensive, or you just hurt my feelings, or that's not diplomatically correct, is a big thing here. So then you start filtering what you're talking about, right?
Right.
And to who. So you're not as free to express as I would be able to do at home.
Yes. But I bet, like, with your therapist, you were fine to be your natural self, right?
Absolutely. She was a wonderful, wonderful find. I mean, she's really helped me come a long way, just to, kind of give me tools so it's, when you're going through something like this, it's gray, it's muddy, it's dark. You can't see you can't see the wood from the trees. You don't know which way to go, left, right, up, down. What do I do? Now I got no friends. And at the same time, when my wife passed away, I had left my full-time position and I had started my own company. So now I'm like, oh, damn. Well, I mean, the company is fantastic. I mean, I started my own digital marketing agency, and it's a great, I'm glad I did it. But at the time, just over 2 years ago, the double whammy of the change, well, call it a triple whammy, because we had just moved here, new state. She passes away, and I leave my full-time, position and start a company. So, trying to navigate that on the day-to-day basis, like, what do I begin with? Do I feel sad?
You also needed the income.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So you were also heavily relying on your ability to work, right?
100%. And then, if you're grieving, you don't think very clearly. So, there needed to be extra effort I needed to put in to, actually stop myself and put, the emotional stuff aside so that I could just be logical and figure out the business piece of it, right?
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about, and back to that therapist, she was phenomenal in helping me, kind of compartmentalize some of that. So, okay, Brigette, here's your day. You've got like 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, 12 hours in a day. What does that look like? And sleeping has been a challenge for me in the last 2 years. It's getting better now, because you struggle to sleep at night with stuff like this. But now she's helped me kind of break my day up in ways where, all right, in the morning, you're going to do X, like journal, whatever the case may be. Dig into what you're feeling for the day and what your intentions are for the day, right?
Yeah.
And then you put that piece aside, and then for the next 3 hours, like 9 until 12, it's all work, right? Keep yourself completely consumed with that. This is just how it's been working for me. I mean, everyone has a different process. And then for like an hour, maybe 2, I'll do some personal things, and I'll check in with myself. How am I feeling? Am I emotional? Am I not emotional? I allow myself that space. Because just having that structure helps when you're, in a new place and you don't really know anyone. And then for the last part of the day, I throw myself, back into work. But then I would make sure, at least once or twice in the week, I go out and I try and meet new people. So I was, carefully looking at that. Where can I go meet new people so that I can make friends? And then likewise on weekends, kind of structuring it that way. And it's worked. I mean, I've started building up a really great friendship group around me. I mean, it's taken a few turns, some have come, some have gone, some have come, some have gone. But I feel like there's those steadfast ones that have kind of stood out for me, and I'm going to hang on to them forever. I'm going to look after them.
Yeah, nice. And can you say a little bit how long it took you until you were ready to socialize again?
Yeah, I mean, it took me probably over a year just for me to start getting out there, and because I mean, now I'm growing my own business, so I'm going out because I have to network. I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah. So having a business conversation is one thing, right? But trying to be a little more vulnerable with people and open with them, to be able to build what I hope for is a friendship was a challenge. It was a challenge. I think I'm getting better at now, because the more you talk about something, the easier it becomes. Like now I'm having this conversation with you, right? So each time I have this conversation, because there was a long time I didn't say a word. I kept it all in. I didn't tell anyone because I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. And also maybe you want to filter out if the other person is okay with dealing with your process too.
Exactly.
Like not everybody is like feels comfortable in that situation.
Oh, 100%. And then layer in that cultural difference where different people have different ways of handling things. I cannot tell you how many times it's happened where I'll meet some new people and then they'll ask me, are you single? Are you this? And then I'll say, then I tested it out a few times. well, I'm actually a widow, right? And it's sometimes hard for me to say the word. And then I can see either they get really uncomfortable really fast, and then I probably won't hear from them again, or there are those that like are all in, like head, toes, feet, and they want to know everything. Then I'm like, okay, now you need to slow down a little bit. I'll give you bits and pieces. So yeah, it's been an interesting road to navigate, honestly.
Yeah. And I also had this one question at the funeral. Did your family and friends from South Africa, were they able to come over?
No. So what I ended up doing was, it's very difficult to come from South Africa unless you have means and a visa and the right passport to come. Anyone on a South African passport, it's difficult to come to the US to get the visa. It's expensive. You have to go through a series of interviews. You don't get it every time. One of my closest friends tried to come. She had the air ticket. She went for the visa application. The visa just never came. She couldn't come. She lost her flights, right? So what I did was, for all the local people, I had something here in the US, our neighbors. My wife was very social. She would always be talking to all the neighbors. I would be like, I'm out. She made friends with everyone.
Yeah.
Right? And there's always one in the relationship. And then, but having said that, sidebar, my neighbors have become they have just been phenomenal. They help me because they know I'm on my own here, and I still have our two pets, and I travel, and I need to, I need that support. They are there time and time again. I'm very lucky. So I just wanted to put that out there. But at the end of the day, what I did was, my wife, Claire was her name. She had this very clear wish in terms of what she wanted done for her end of life ceremony, right?
Okay.
So she was cremated. That's what she wanted. And there was a very special place in the Western Cape in South Africa. It's called Langebaan. It's this little coastal town that we used to live in. And she wanted her ashes scattered from this, into the lagoon from a boat.
Yeah.
She was actually Scottish born and raised, and then moved to South Africa. So she had a very, I guess, unique perspective in terms of end of life, right? So she wanted a celebration, but a large celebration. So I flew home with her ashes, which was an insane experience in itself, just from an emotional perspective, because that was the first time I'm flying with her, but she's not actually sitting in the seat next to me, right? And going through security, they have to open up and see what you got. Yeah, they were very good. TSA at Tampa International, they were very gentle. I burst into tears while I was going through security, and they immediately saw, and they were so kind, and they were so gentle and so warm with me. So I was thankful for that, but obviously, it's an emotional journey.
Oh, yeah.
So I flew back home to Cape Town, and I rented this massive, massive boat. And we went out from her favorite marina, all, her closest people got on the boat, and I put all her favorite songs together, this playlist, and I got her favorite champagne, and we went out.
Okay.
And we had this life celebration out there. And I think, and I did it over her birthday, which is November, just over a year ago. I think once that took place, I felt more of a sense of closure, like I'd taken care of everything that she had wanted, right? But again, not without its challenges. So I'm sitting in America, and I need to get back to South Africa. And it sounds harsh, but this is what they say. If you are flying with human remains, that's what. And then you're like, but that's my wife. Like, what are you talking about? So that disconnect, and just trying to not be, emotional with all these terms that come at you, and then all the administration that comes with that, to be able to fly with her, right? Because they're very strict. I mean, the airport security,
I see.
And then visas and all of those good things. Yeah, so it's been a journey, I'll tell you that.
Okay. And even then after, because I'm sure you two made the plans together to be in the US. Yes. Were you ever considering of going back?
Oh, yes, 100%. So the house that I'm living in now was going to be our retirement home. This was our plan. This is where we wanted to land, right?
Yeah.
This was our dream house. And then, as you know, when she passed away, my knee-jerk reaction was, I'm just going to pack up and go back to South Africa,
Yeah.
right? Go back to what I know. But then I first had to pause and stop and think, well, we had given up our entire life and savings and everything to get here, and everything that we went through to get here felt like, you know, it would just be something I'd be throwing out the window. I completely
Mm-hmm.
discontinue that thought process. I mean, I'm not to say I might not move back to South Africa, but I took the last 2 years to do some travel because I was like, is Tampa home for me now, or where do I
Yeah.
want to be in the world? Because in between all of that, we got our citizenship, so now it's easier to move around, right? So
Right.
we don't need a visa every time we go
Yeah,
somewhere.
and you can always come back.
Exactly. So it's taken me a minute, but every time I would travel somewhere, I went to Thailand, Singapore, England, Turkey, Greece. I just couldn't be here. And every time I came back, it was kind of interesting to me that when I landed here, each time I landed back here, I felt like, okay, this could be home for me. It felt a little bit more, a little bit warmer,
Okay.
a little bit warmer. Okay, this is starting to feel like something for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say I've forced myself, but I've like made myself just pause and at the very least, stay in the Tampa Bay region. I'm still trying to figure out, if what I'm going to do with this home, because there was a lot of
Yeah.
hopes and intentions with it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm still figuring it out, but I think I'm going to stick around for a while in the Tampa Bay area until something else happens. I mean, life can take you anywhere, right?
Yes.
And having moved countries, right? I mean, you've done it once, you can do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's been done. I could probably do it again. Do I want to do it again? No, not really. But I also have so my wife and I had this little dog. She's a pug. Her name's Penelope, and she came with us from South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and she's gonna be 13 this
Oh,
year.
wow.
Right? And that was Claire's like baby. I adopted her in South Africa from a town called Bloemfontein, and I flew her into Cape Town. They were actually going to put her down. She was the runt of the litter,
Mm.
and this dog has probably traveled more than many people, and it was Claire's like baby. So one of the things she always used to say to me is, if anything ever happens to me, make sure Penelope is taken care of. So
Okay.
so that's kind of my focus at the moment. I just want to make sure she's comfortable,
Yeah.
while she rides out the last of her years. And I think when Penelope passes, because that's my last special connection to her,
Okay.
then I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do?
Oh,
Right? Because
I
then I can
see.
live anywhere and do anything. How it is if you have pets. You need a yard, you need this, you need that,
Right.
right?
Yes, you need like more space for
Exactly. Just somewhere for them to go outside and do their business. And
also like you can I mean even like going on vacation is easier.
exactly.
Then you don't have to plan for that. Just to
Exactly.
say it. I don't know. Did not say it in positive way, but
No, I get it. Well, that's why my neighbors have been so fantastic, and
yeah.
they've been helping me a lot with the animals, because I had the dog and a cat. Um, the cat's a long story. I adopted her in Connecticut by chance because she was also neglected and left out in the cold, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was like, okay, come along, let's go. And the
Yeah.
cats and the dog drove down to Florida with me.
Nice. Um, and I also just wanted to ask you about the blog. Do you share more of your feelings and grieving process on your blog?
Yeah, so I've started, yes, I have the blog that initially was born out of, well, here's my journey. I called it my African American journey. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've only now started delving in. So I kind of wrote about when you first get here and you don't have social security and you don't have a credit score and you don't even know how to put gas in your tank,
Yeah.
and driving on the other side of the road, and you come and
Oh, yes.
you don't even have a driver's license, and I had to go sit with other 16-year-olds and redo my driver's license, all of
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things, So I wrote a lot about that. And now that I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable to share, I'm starting to write more a little, in terms of, well, okay, so I'm here in this new country, but now I am a different person because my purpose was always my relationship, my wife, our future, our retirement. Now it's just me. I'm like, okay, so why am I getting up every day? What am I doing? And part of that, which I'm starting to figure out, is through my business. So South Africa has this high unemployment rate, and not everybody is able to leave to go. It's very difficult to emigrate, cost wise, paperwork wise, all of those good things.
Right.
I mean, so everything that I do, I build the business around. I hire South Africans that are sitting there. That are
Okay, so at least they have a job.
So they have a job, so they can put food on the table.
Yeah.
So I'm finding that is my purpose. I started out with it, but it's becoming more and more important to me because I guess that's something or some people or someone or an entity I can take care of.
Yeah.
Because I like, there's a natural nurturing there. My wife is no longer there, but now South Africans, I love the country so damn much. And the people, I mean, they are phenomenal, very, very talented people that just need a helping hand, right? So that has become my new thing, purpose, just trying to like wake up with a sense of purpose. And that's helping me to now start talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now it's not just all about, I'm more comfortable to talk about the loss and the grief, but there's also this other positive that's coming out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. No. And also it sounds like very important to you personally, but also it has a good cause.
No, absolutely. I mean, when I speak to, my team members back home and I'm, and I hire new folks and I interview them, I mean, the excitement and the want to work, our work ethic in South Africa is so strong.
But then it's like it's already like a good work environment. It's a good vibe you work in. Then if you feel that everybody wants to do the job, then
that's
all the difference.
Happy. They're so happy just to have the work, and then they put all this love into the work. And then my clients here in America love that because they're getting more. There's that like additional sense of pride that comes out, right?
Yeah.
And obviously it helps too because of the different time zones, essentially.
Yeah, of course. So they work when they sleep and then the next day the work is done.
Exactly. The business day is a little longer, yes. So they get more.
Right. And can I ask you how you and Claire felt about the United States? Were you like, oh yeah, people here are so friendly, we feel really welcome? Did you have that feeling like in the beginning or?
Yes, I think in the beginning we initially we struggled a little bit with it because there was a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication. So I mean, you've probably heard this, not all English is the same, right?
Yeah.
So South Africa is, Oxford Dictionary, British English, and we have different words and different things versus the American English. So there would be times when none of us could actually understand each other, especially Claire, because she had a very different accent to mine.
Well,
she still had that
Scotland.
Scottish. Yeah. So folks would struggle to understand her even more, and she was hard of hearing in one of her ears. So then it would be like, wait, what? What did you say? But once we overcame that and we learned how to, obviously we had to adapt here with the language and understanding and all of that. Then it became pretty easy, and we found people to be very welcoming. they would, easily open their door and invite us over for dinner. So as a couple, I mean, the two of us spend a lot of our time working because you're starting over, right? So
right.
So most of the people that you meet was through work, but they became friends over time. And the warmth that they showed us, just trying to help and assist and guide was absolutely phenomenal. But then, so you kind of fast forward a little bit, and then she passes away. So now most of her friends are her clients. So that business, I had to fold that business up, her personal training business, and close the LLC. So then I'm like, okay, well, now it's not just friends for the two of us. Now I got to find friends for just me, right? Because people know you as this couple,
right? Yeah, exactly.
There's a different dynamic that happens there, because we would usually hang out with other couples, right?
Right, and she brought them in, kind of.
Yes.
It's almost like sorry, I don't want to like step on your feet, but it's almost like if you have this and then you separate from the partner and then like see like who stays friends with who.
Yes, 100%. And for the most part, I think I touched on it earlier. She was a lot warmer than me. She's a lot more approachable than I usually am. I'm getting better at it because I've had to. But people would gravitate naturally towards her. She would walk in a room and the whole room would just light up, right?
Okay.
So I was just, kind of for a while there, the tag along when we got here. I mean, in South Africa, I had my own friends because I went to school there and,
sure.
we know each other.
Yeah, you grew up there, yeah.
All those things. But I realized, after she was not around anymore, I was like, oh, okay. Now I have to be the one that approaches and builds a relationship and puts in the, friendships are like relationships. You have to put in the time and the effort, right?
Yeah.
So who's coming to who? Who's inviting where? When last did you call them, text them, whatever it is? And then trying to figure out also what kind of people I want to surround myself with. So now I'm navigating the whole cultural difference thing, right? And their perspectives on, I don't know, all sorts, diversity, politics, religion, the whole, like, okay, business, right brain, left brain, all these aspects.
Right.
I'm like, so then trying to figure that piece out, and then now me having to step out in front because Claire's not there to do it anymore, to find a new circle of people in a new state, in a new country.
And so what is the main giveaway you would tell somebody who went through a similar experience like you?
I would definitely say that there's a sense of trying to get through, or should I say, trying to get over something means you actually need to push through it. So not avoiding it, hitting it head on, and then surrounding yourself with people that can help you, a therapist, a professional person, I think, just to help you navigate. Because also what ends up happening is, therapists are really nice and patient, right? So they will help explain those cultural differences. And my therapist, for example, is in a multicultural marriage, so she understands it, right? She can speak comfortably. So that multicultural facet is important, right? Just to kind of get your baseline off of in terms of how you show up in the world every day. And then added to that, doing all the work on yourself together with some professional help, but then being really purposeful in terms of who you surround yourself with and nurturing those friendships and relationships, right? Those that can understand when you say no to an invitation and you just want to be alone, or those that'll open their door almost last minute because you have a sudden need to have company, right? That kind of flexible, nurturing, understanding type community around you. And it doesn't happen very quickly or very easily. It takes time. So there's a patience there that needs to be in place. All right, I'm not just going to make friends tomorrow, but I'm gonna try. So this week my plan, is X. I'm gonna go to this event, or I'm gonna go. What I did was I would book myself in for weekends in different little towns around this area, and I would just go have a weekend by myself and walk around and pop in at places, and some of the closest people that I actually met doing that on Mother's Day last year. And I was just standing listening to music, and they reeled me in and they started talking to me. And next thing we're exchanging numbers, and we all have a lot in common, right? And I saw some of them this weekend again. They always, one of them in particular, she always jokes with me. She goes, "Yeah, we adopted Brigette,"
Yeah.
which is so amazing, just to feel that sense of belonging. Because when you're new in an area and in a country, and nobody knows you, and then over time you're out in public and you hear your name, somebody's like, "Hey, Brigette," and you're like, "Oh, you recognize me, you know me," then
Right.
there's that sense of like, "Oh wow," I've actually started building relationships, and people are starting to recognize. And I think that would probably be the base of it for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. This is not like the grieving. This is like your day-to-day life. Are there still things that you miss from South Africa?
Oh yeah, the food. I miss the food. I miss the wines, because Cape Town is a big wine country.
But what's the food in South Africa?
Well, the it's not so much as to what, it's as to how. So we do something called a braai, which is kind of like a barbecue, but not really. We don't cook with gas. We will be outside, and we'll light the wood fire, and it's a big social event. So you don't go to that. That was a big thing I needed to learn quite quickly here in the US. You go out to a restaurant, you go to someone's house, within 5 minutes you ordered, the food came, you paid, you're leaving the person's house. I'm like, wait, we just got here, right? So culturally in South Africa, we go out to a restaurant or you go to someone's house. You don't even order food for at least the first 2 hours, because you're sitting talking, and you're drinking a glass of wine, and you're connecting. You're at their house and the fire is on, and then everyone's like, "Well, we're not hungry yet," so you put more wood on the fire, the music's on, you're having conversation. Sometimes there's always a hidden joke in terms of, if you get invited to a South African's house for a braai, don't come hungry, because you might not even end up eating.
Right.
They might send you home with food, but it's more about the connection, right?
Okay.
And I miss that. People slow down. They actually talk to each other, and it's based around food, whether you eat it or you don't eat it or you take it home. But that's the piece I miss the most, 100%.
Did you sometimes offer this though, to like show it to your friends and neighbors?
I mean, I wish I could, because I can't have wood fire where I live. So with a grill, it's a little difficult to do. I wish I could. So, I would love to be able to take some of my friends back home and show them how we do it, like really do it. Usually there'll be a fire and a sunset, and there'll be a swimming pool or the beach, and we're all just like hanging out. That's it. And then sometimes, whoever's in charge of the braai, the fire, might make a few little snacks, maybe little pieces of meat, like, bacon, whatever it is. And then just, snacks would be handed out coming off the fire. But an actual sit-down meal, it's probably not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Okay.
You might get a paper plate and you can go put some potato salad on it, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. Then I guess we're coming to an end. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with me and with the audience.
Thank you, Viktoria. I appreciate you having me on. I hope this helps somebody somewhere.
I hope so too. I hope so too. Probably will, I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. Yes. that was my talk today with Brigette. And if you are in a similar situation like her, she told me it's totally fine if you want to reach out to her. And you will find her information in the show notes to her blog and also to her LinkedIn. Yeah, and that was it from this week's episode. If you want to reach out to me to be a guest on this podcast, then send me an email to worldscollide123pod@gmail.com or also on Instagram. And then, of course, I would love it if you leave me a review wherever you listen to the podcast, or there is also this possibility to support the podcast at buymeacoffee.com/worldscollidepod. Yeah. All right. That was it from this week. And I hope you tune in again next week to let you know. Next week is going to be the last episode for this season. Then we'll take a break over the summer and we'll be back after the big summer holidays. All right. Until then, bye.